With the two superpowers of the time aging, a third power is rising. Rashidun Caliphate knocks on the doors of the mighty Persian Empire in its first major engagement outside its boundaries. Muhammad in his lifetime unified the Arabian Peninsula under a single authority, but after his death the first Rashidun Caliph, Abu Bakr, found the new political order in a serious crisis. A wave of rebellion swept across the Arab, and almost all the tribes challenged the supremacy of the Rashidun Caliphate. Abu Bakr, with his limited resources, had to fight a year-long war to restore the authority of the Caliphate. After dealing with internal crisis, Abu Bakr looked outward and decided to take on the mighty Persian Empire. Persian Empire at the time was being ruled by a Sasanian king, Yazdgard. Yazdgard was the last emperor of the Persian Empire. Abu Bakr ordered his best military commander, the legendary Khalid ibn Al-Walid, to put together an army of volunteers and march towards Ubala, an important city of the Persian Empire. Khalid was the spearhead of Rashidun forces that crushed the rebellion, a true military genius who was to set new standards in the art of warfare. Khalid put together an army of 18,000, and before setting out with his forces, Khalid dispatched a message to Hormuz. Hormuz was the governor of the frontier province of the Persian Empire and its military commander. Hormuz prepared an army of 20,000 warriors, and instead of defending at Ubala, he decided to intercept Khalid's army at Kazima, the modern-day Kuwait. Hormuz set camp at Kazima and awaited for the Rashidun army, but Rashidun army did not come. And the next day, Persian scouts came with the news that Rashidun army was going towards Hufar, a town near Ubala. Khalid ibn Al-Walid used an alternate route to bypass the Persian army. Khalid was so near his objective, the city of Ubala, but he waited until the Hormuz left for Hufar. Khalid withdrew back into the desert and made his way to Kazima. The idea was not to attack Ubala, but to exhaust the Persian army. Persian army was heavily equipped and bound to feel the effects of the journey. Hormuz arrived at Hufar, but once again could not find Khalid's lightning-fast army. Khalid's army had finally set camp at Kazima. Hormuz had to get back to Kazima. The Persian finally found the Rashidun army at Kazima. Persian soldiers were exhausted and frustrated. Hormuz didn't want to waste any more time. Both armies now deployed, facing each other with a normal formation of a center and two wings. Khalid placed himself at the center and put Adib ibn Hatim and Asim bin Amr in command of the wings. Rashidun army was lightly equipped but highly mobile. The primary strength of this army was the lightning-fast cavalry. Hormuz placed himself at the center and the wings under Qubaz and Anushjan. Persian army was heavily equipped and a professional army. Its primary strength was its expertise in a front-pitched battle. The Persian army, as was their tradition, tied their soldiers 5 and 6 in chains. This was a symbol of suicidal courage and unshaken resolve. And this is why this battle is called the Battle of Chains. The battle started with a duel between the two commanders. Hormuz urged forward his horse and shouted, "Man to man, where is Khalid?" Khalid came out of the ranks. Hormuz dismounted and challenged the Khalid for an unmounted sword combat. This was a bold decision because the chances of escape in such a combat were little. The combat started with the two generals showing their skills with the sword. Both struck several times with no success. And then Hormuz surprised Khalid by throwing away his sword and calling for a hand-to-hand combat. Khalid accepted his challenge and both generals lashed onto each other in a fierce wrestling contest. And then suddenly Hormuz cried out, and in a few moments they were surrounded by some Persian horsemen. Khalid was in a grim situation. He found himself in the strong grip of Hormuz and surrounded by Persian soldiers. The end was near. Khalid responded immediately by rolling himself and Hormuz along the ground, making it difficult for the Persian soldiers to aim at him. The armies started shouting, and suddenly two of the Persian horsemen fell on the ground. Khalid's horseman, Qaqa ibn Amr, had responded in time, engaging in killing the Persians that had surrounded the two generals. And then Khalid rose from the ground, with dagger dripping with the blood of Hormuz. This was a huge blow to the morale of the Persian army. And then Khalid ordered a general attack. The two armies swept across the plain and fell upon each other. The Persian soldiers were more numerous and more disciplined, so they fought hard. But soon the fatigue and broken morale of the Persians began to tell. The Rashidun warriors succeeded in breaking through the Persian formations at several points. Qubaz and Anushjan, sensing the defeat, ordered a withdrawal and began to pull their men back. The Rashidun soldiers closed in, and the battle turned into a rout, especially for the chained Persian soldiers, who became sitting ducks. Qubaz and Anushjan escaped with a large portion of the army. The battle was over. Muslims were victorious, and it was a perfect start in Persian campaign for Rashidun army. The highly mobile cavalry and leadership of Khalid was a key factor in deciding the fate of this battle. From the very start, he had a clear plan on how to avoid a front-pitch battle and exhaust the Persian army before the battle. Hormuz, on the other hand, was an arrogant general of an imperial army. The new enemy and its tactics was a surprise for him, so he never had a plan.